your heart cry to be the church that you would desire? You lie to be seen. Break down our pride, and all the walls were built up inside. Our earthly crowns and all our desires, we lay at your
feet. The sign of the cross is illegal in 51 countries.
Christians are still being killed in Russia, Chiapas, Mexico, Ethiopia, Gaza and the West Bank, Lebanon, Philippines, Turkey, Algeria, Bangladesh, India, Cuba, Colombia, China, Eritrea, Indonesia, Iraq, Iran, Mauritania, North Korea, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Somalia, and Uzbekistan.
Saudi Arabia, Muslim cleric kills his sister for being a Christian. Fatima al-Muhtar was killed by her older brother after announcing she had become a Christian.
India, violence against Christians is escalating as churches and homes are burned.
China, custom officials confiscated 315 Chinese Bibles from mission team. This was on August 17th.
Eritrea, 8 students are imprisoned after protesting the burning of Bibles.
Saudi Arabia, Saudi man cuts out his daughter's tongue and burns her body after her conversion to Christ. Azerbaijan, Christians abducted at gunpoint by Muslim extremists.
Eritrea, Christian woman dies of malaria in prison after being imprisoned and tortured for 5 minutes.
India, 2008, July 13th, Hindu extremists disrupted service at a full gospel assembly and burned down the church.
Afghanistan has 48,000 mosques and no churches.
There's this guy, his name is Silam. They called him that because they couldn't say his real name. He was Druze. The Druze believed that God was incarnated more than 100,000 years ago. And to get out of that religion is not, you can't. So he got out, he got saved, he believed in Jesus, and his whole village turned against him. His own brother beat him. One time they knocked on the door and they told him, "We want to tell you about Jesus." He opened it because he was excited. He wanted to hear about Jesus. And they beat him, his neck. His wife, her own brother, beat her up, left her broken bones. Their whole family has been prosecuted for not denying Jesus.
A pastor in Ethiopia who was ministering in the service when men from a communist government there interrupted the church service and said, "We are here to stop you from having church." They had already done everything they knew to do, but without success. So that day, when they grabbed the pastor's 3-year-old daughter and literally threw her out the second-story window of the building while everybody watched, communists thought they would stop the service, but the pastor's wife went down to the ground floor, cradled her dead baby in her arms, and returned to her seat on the front row, and worship continued. As a result of this humble pastor's faithfulness, 400,000 devout believers would boldly show up for the Bible conference in Ethiopia.
In Vietnam, of June 2007, in a mobile church, some people were having a prayer meeting. There so happened to be police surrounding the area at the time and heard them shout, "Hallelujah." The police officers asked the neighbors what they were doing, and they said that they were praying to God, and the police quietly went away. Wow. The perfect love of God made the police fearful. Muslim converts cannot legally marry in Iraq, so they marry secretly, following God's law instead of their own government.
Pastor Al-Hunaymi in Uzbekistan was beaten up by 4 Muslims because of his desire to make everyone a Christian. He says he had stopped being afraid. He asked Mom to publish his real name with his photo of him, his wife, and 4 daughters with faces uncovered for the glory of God.
In Vietnam, June 2007, Many churches were fenced off and closed. Only a few have been reopened. But even though they were closed, people still went and sat outside of the church, or they had meetings or Bible studies at each other's house. Policemen and other enemies of Christ got tired of empty lives that they started finding Jesus because of the testimony believers.
For the 2008 Beijing Olympics, a Chinese pastor requested Voice of the Martyrs to hand out prayer bracelets that say "Pray for China." He was arrested for that, and the Chinese government has not said anything about that.
The crucifixion was not a sneaky plan of God to overthrow the Pharisees and Sadducees. It was a plan of God to present His love, which has existed from the foundation of the world. Colossians 1. Pharisees, Sadducees, communists, or Muslims cannot stop God's plan.
Christians are just like salmon swimming against the current, against the world. The ways of the world are always against the ways of Christ. Though they may struggle, the fish that swim against the current are full of life. Those that swim easily downstream with the current, they're already dead.
People all over the world are being killed and beaten for their commitment to God.
As Americans, will we die as martyrs or of high cholesterol, commitment or complacency?
How many people will you allow to continue their path to destruction?
Is it really okay to be complacent?
What if you were the one that was lost?
I am not ashamed
Of the gospel,
I am not ashamed. I am not ashamed.
I am not ashamed.
I am not ashamed of the gospel.
because it is the power of
Power of God,
Power of God.
Gospel.
It is the power of God.
the salvation of everyone.
everyone.
Salvation of everyone.
Everyone who believes.
The salvation of everyone who believes.
Romans
1:16.
Romans 1:16.